Hi, I'm Kris here for TERRA, and I'm here to teach you how to make a winter planter or an evergreen arrangement. First things first, a few key considerations. Number one, make sure that you have something to plant in that is weather resistant. So I'm using one of our black plastic urns that are available at TERRA, and I've got it filled with soil. The soil should be moist and packed tight. This is for two reasons. Number one, we want it to act as a stable base for all of the greenery. So it needs to be packed nice and tight in order for the greens to stand up. And secondly, the moistness is important because when we use fresh cut greens, they'll actually keep drawing water from the soil and drinking in order to stay fresh for longer. So until your planter freezes solid, you're going to water your greenery regularly. And then once it's frozen, you're all set. Today I'm making a nature-inspired arrangement. So there is certainly no one way to do this. This is my favorite way to assemble a planter, but you can use any manner of materials that you have from your own garden or things that you pick up from our greenery market. There's no wrong way to make a planter. So pick out some of your favorite materials and follow the method, and you can make something that is uniquely yours. When I'm building, I prefer to use pine first, and this is because pine has really stiff branches. It tends to be more straight than the cedar is. So I use the pine first to build sort of an outline or a skeleton of my arrangement to create the basic shape. Every piece of pine or cedar I'm putting into the planter will get a fresh cut. I'm using my heavy-duty Fiskars pruners, and I'm going to cut each thing on a 45-degree angle. That'll help it to insert into the soil easier, and it will draw water from that soil, as we talked about, to stay fresher for longer. So the first thing I do is I hold up my bunch, and I try to choose the longest, straightest piece and insert that first, and that's going to sort of start me off with a center. If I'm building an arrangement to be viewed just from one side, which is most common if you're putting it on a porch or in front of a garage, I'm going to set it toward the back. If I'm building a planter to be viewed from all sides, I'll set it right in the center and build outward from there. I've got my leader piece. Now, I'm going to cut all of these smaller bits off, but reserve them off to the side. I will use them, but right now I'm forming the basic skeleton of my arrangement. With a central piece in place, now everything else from the planter is going to flow outward from that central point. So I'm going to work through the rest of my pine and build out a symmetrical, sort of skeletal base for the rest of the arrangement. There we go. With the pine in place, it's starting to take shape. I've got sort of a rough Christmas tree sort of shape, and then everything will start to flow outward from that central point. I'm going to work with cedar next, which has a really beautiful draping effect, and it's going to fill in all of these spaces in between the pine. My method's going to be very similar to what I already did. You'll see. With the basic greens in place now, it's time to personalize. Specialty greens are so fun to work with. So for this arrangement, I'm using Oregonia, which is like a variegated boxwood that we get from the West Coast, and then magnolia leaves. Magnolia leaves are absolutely stunning. They have this leather look. Something to be aware of, though, is that they do dry through the season. So they're really vibrant and bright right now. They will fade as they begin to dry, which I think is part of their natural charm. So now all of the foliage is in place. I've got these mixed leaves all kind of radiating from this central point, and that's on purpose. This is going to be where my big impact statement is. So what's better for a big impact than a big cone? It's a good rule of thumb when you're decorating to put the biggest elements nestled into the planter toward the base. And then anything that's sort of more whimsical and airy goes out toward the outside. You'll see. Take a look. This fall, before the frost came, I clipped some hydrangeas from my garden and dried them in the shed. So this is their shining moment. This is exactly why I saved them, is for use in planters like this. So I'm going to work some of the hydrangea flowers in a few places here, and then I'll finish off with some artificial berries and some birch cookies. For height and drama in your planter, it's amazing to use natural twigs. We've got a huge selection at Terra stores from different types of willow, different types of dogwood, artificial twigs in different painted colors, so lots of options there. I'm going with curly willow and a yellow twig dogwood. And there we go, a garden-inspired winter planter. Now, when I'm ready for my holiday company and I want to Christmasify this arrangement, I'll add red berries and a big red bow at the front, and then I can either add or subtract those elements in order to take it into and then back out of the holidays. Just like that.